All right, so we are going to create a app mockup. What you're going to do is you are going to use Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, probably one of those two, in order to create the mockup that we will then bring into Adobe XD. Okay, so that's basically the goal. So I'm going to show you how I would start. I'm not going to go through the whole process of creating it because yours will probably be different than mine, but I'm going to show you how I made mine, and then you can go about however you want to make yours. What I would like you to do is this. I want you to use your original brand that you created in the last project, right? The original brand project. I want you to make your lab. I want you to make it for that. That's what you're going to make your app based off of, is off of that. Okay. So every one of these kind of builds off the next, as you probably have noticed. So that's basically what we're going to attempt to do. All right, so this is what mine looks like, just to give you a rough idea. So this is how you should start in Photoshop. So you're just going to go File, do New, and then you're going to see they have, recents, but you'll notice that they have these different categories. You want to go to Mobile, and then there's a couple different options down here. You can choose one that makes sense for you. I'm just going to choose not the iPhone X. I'm just going to choose the iPhone 8, whatever, Plus. This seems fine. And then I can see the dimensions here as well. But you could choose, Android or one of these other ones. I just figured this one seemed fine. So I'm going to go with that one. The rest of this is fine. And then we'll hit create. And it's going to give you this right here. The next thing you need to do is we're generally want to use a grid, right, in order to lay out our design. So the easiest way to kind of apply that is to just use a guide layout. So we're going to go to Window, or I'm sorry, not Window. Going to go to View, New Guide Layout. And you want to use, so normally when we do our guides, we do 12 columns, right? But that's 12 columns typically going across, usually when it's 12 columns, it's going across an entire landscape style. So I don't think 12 columns makes sense here. So I'm just going to do 6. But I would do something that's divisible by 3 or 4. 6 probably is about the right number, to be honest. Then we need to do the gutter. So the gutter, if I take it away, you'll see, oops, didn't want to do that. The gutter is the gutter is the space between each one of these. So typically, if you're looking at most things, they usually put 10 pixels on either side of the column. So if we do 20, that would be the equivalent of putting 10 on the outside of this one and 10 on the outside of this one. So that's why we're doing 20. And then for the margin, I just did 10, 10, 10, 10 all the way around, because that's basically what the other side of these would be. Okay. So I would do something like this, 6 columns. Don't worry about doing rows, because the rows are going to vary based on what your content is. But you are going to want to use columns. Like I said, I would probably do 6, maybe 4. 4 would probably be okay too. 3 seems like it'd be too little. If you want to do 8, that'd probably be fine. Or 12 if you want that kind of, minutia. But I think this is probably fine. So we'll hit OK. That's a good start. So once you have those elements on, make sure also underneath View that you have Snap on, and that Snap to is set to basically everything, because that'll just make it easier when we're placing our elements. I know sometimes snapping is annoying because it snaps where you don't want it to. In this case, actually, it's going to be more beneficial to us because we want to snap to it, because we're trying to do more or less page layout. All right. Now, the other thing that we have to concern ourselves with are images and things that we might need. Okay, so one thing you're going to need to do is the color, right? So you might have a different system of doing this, but this is one of the things I usually teach in my classes. If you go to color.adobe.com, you'll end up here. By default, it's the white. I just changed change the theme here. And what it'll do is it allows you to basically choose a color scheme. If you've been in my other classes, I usually highlight this because I'm not very good at choosing colors. And then you can get the colors here, which is pretty nice. And here's the hex codes. You can just copy and paste those into Photoshop, and that's totally fine. An easier way is if you go up here, you can do trends. This is the one I like the most. No, it should be trends. And then what they'll do is they'll give you other options based off of industry. So if your mock company that you were making was fashion, you could probably use this fashion category. If it's a graphic design company, illustration, user interface, game design. You can see they don't have a ton of them, but they do. Oh, they do have more. Oh no, that's for each one. So for mine, I just did UX UI, so I just clicked on View More, and you'll see that they have pages of them, like so. You just click next. There's a bunch of them. So I don't know how many pages because it just keeps going. But find one that you think looks good. So we'll just say this one, right? I'm like, okay, I like that. That looks good. You can actually download it as a JPEG. So you click on it, download as a JPEG, and then you can sample this for your colors. Okay, so for mine, I downloaded it, and then I just did File, and I just did Place Embedded, and then I grabbed it right here, Place, and then I just put it on the bottom here like this. And then I have basically my colors are all set up. Okay. So the other thing you're going to want to do, which you might have already done this because you were making the text for your logo before, and usually you incorporate text as part of that, is if you go to Dafont, DAFONT.com, they have a whole library of just oodles and oodles of fonts. And I had already done this when I originally did the previous example, and they do have them in categories here that you might find helpful. You're gonna want basically 3 fonts in that area. So usually you want a heading font. You're probably gonna want whatever your font is that's for your logo. That's like specifically for the logo. Then you're gonna want heading fonts, and then you're gonna want body fonts. Okay, and you can even add accent font if you have like a font that's supposed to like stand out, like you do a little quote or something. All right. Um, but I would you can download them here. I don't know what you know about downloading fonts and installing them. I believe if you're on a Mac, you can just hit download, and I think you just double click on them. I think they just automatically install. But if you're trying to do it on a PC, what you want to do is download it. I'm going to show in folder, and I'm going to hit extract all, so it's extracted. All right, and then you'll see it here. So here it is right here. To install it, the easiest way is to actually just right click right on your desktop, like just on the desktop, and you'll see personalize. Go there, and then you'll see, where are you, fonts. And then all you have to do is it here? Yeah, all you have to do is just take it, just drop it right in here, and that will install the font, and then you'll see it right there. Okay, so if you need to install fonts, that's how you would do it on a PC. All right, so that should be helpful. So you're going to want to download those fonts. Once you have the fonts, what I did is, I'll just show you on mine. So I'm going to, let's see. I did all these as layers. Hang on, turn off all these. There we go. I basically, let me expand it. So I have a folder I called just for reference material. So I wrote them out in type, and then I wrote what they were as well. So basically inside of here, above this one, I'll just put like another layer. Where's my, let's say that, somehow lost it. Where are you? Place embedded. And then we'll just grab this guy, place, and I'm just going to slap him on down here. Maybe because I didn't hit enter. It might be what it was. So I go here, I just go type, and I'll just make it big. And so Butler was one of them. So I'll just say Butler, okay? And then I'll do another one. And then this one was Retroika. And then that one I wrote Retroika, okay? And I just put them both in there just so that I have them as reference and I can grab them off to put them in there. The other thing I did, which you might want to do before you do any of the rest of this, as you can see here, is I also, oops, not that. Oh, expand. These are fine. There. Is I drew out what I wanted the general layout to be. So I just, real roughly, I just drew it on a separate thing and then just stuck it in here. So this is kind of the layout I was picturing it being. And so I put that as another layer. Okay, so I put that as a layer, the colors a layer, the 2 fonts, and then I put those inside of a folder. And then I can just, and I locked it, and I can just turn it off and turn it on when I need to use it as a reference. So I would just take those elements. So I'm just going to hold shift, click all 3 of them, hit the little folder button, and now they're in here. And I'm just going to call it ref MAT for reference materials. All right. So now I have that looking like that. That's all fine and dandy. Sorry, I just had to check, make sure it was still recording the voice. Okay, so then I have those, and I will use those as a guide. Okay, Now the other thing you're gonna need to do is, so we have two of our main elements, right? So there's a couple of things, right? We have color, we have text, and then we have images. So to do the images, what I would highly suggest is there's a lot of different websites you can go to, but I'm pretty lazy. So usually what I do is I'll go to like Bing, you search up images, and then what you want to do is let's see, clear filters. You'll see down. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it's over here. You want to click on filters on the right. That's going to open up this little sub menu thing. And then what you want to do is go to licenses, and you can grab them based off of this. So you could just do like public domain, free to share and use, and it should only show images that are tagged with those. Google does the same thing. So let's just close out of that. Scroll up. So basically, theirs is called Tools. You click on that, and they'll see usage rights, and then you can grab one of these here. Just make sure it's not all, because then you'll end up with stuff that's not meant like that. Okay, so I just grabbed a bunch of pictures, I slapped them into a folder. Let's see, desktop, and then I did 19. Okay, and I just made images, and then I had the pictures I need. I just slapped them in there just so I could have them real quick. The other thing you're going to want to do is this. You're going to want to use your logo more than likely. So when you save them, if you could save them as SVG files, as opposed to image files, or as opposed to like a PNG or a JPEG. It really shouldn't probably be JPEG, but a PNG. The reason being is that if you use this style image, it's a vector, right? Illustrator files you could probably also import into Photoshop. I think that would work as well. So either way, but if you could save them as a vector, you're actually a lot better off, because they'll be scalable and you'll be able to adjust them better. Anything that's your logo. So I did like just the logo, just the strap line, and then one with the logo and name as well. Okay, so I also saved those. Then what I did in here is I just went through and I made my elements. Now, what you're going to notice is, if you look at mine, there are areas. Let me turn this one off and turn the rest of these on. Shoink. Okay. There are areas that have just flat backgrounds, right? Like there's shapes in here. So in order to create those, what you want to do is, I'm going to turn this off and make a new one. So we'll just say I'm going to do the background color, right? So first, actually, I'm going to do this. I want to grab this color because I think I use this for the color. So I'll hit I for the eyedropper. I'm just going to sample it. Okay, so now that's the color that's on there. And then, I don't know, I'll hit V to go back to select. Okay, so I want that to be my background color. I'm going to turn this back off. Actually, let's also lock that. Okay, so I want that to be my background color. What you could do is, you could hit G, right, and then just do a paint tool. Or I guess probably on gradient, but backwards. But if you do Shift G, I don't know if you knew that. That goes for all of these. So like if I do B, but if I do Shift B, it cycles through. I don't know if you already knew that or not. But anyway, so if I do G, I could just paint it. But that's actually not a good way of working, and I'll kind of explain why. What you're better off doing is this, to draw a shape. So you want to do a shape, and what you want to do is don't do it as pixels. It needs to be a shape. If you do it as pixels, you're drawing out the picture, but it's pixels. It's a raster image. So that means it's not scalable, at least not like appropriately. And also when we go to bring it into XD, anything that's a vector, I can change the colors and I can move the points of. I have a lot more flexibility. If it's a raster image, such as if I leave this on pixels, or when you bring in your logos, you're not going to be able to have any adjustment to those. They're just going to be that color, and it's going to treat it like it's a picture of a person. You can't do anything to it. So that's why we don't want to just paint bucket or do that. Instead, you're going to be better off. I guess we'll just delete it, make a new layer. Instead, you're better off actually drawing a shape and making sure it's actually shape. Take the color, make it the right color. Anything you've clicked on should show up here as the recently used. Make sure you do no smoking for the stroke. And then I'm just going to go on the top here, click and then drag. And voila. And you can see it didn't quite, it snapped to those edges and not to where I wanted. There we go. This one looks like it snapped to there. Okay. Oh, and I also got the bottom here. And then I'll just hit enter, and voila. So I got the first thing, and you'll see down here it has that little thing letting me know that it's a vector. That way, when I bring this in XD, it will show up as a vector that I could change the color if I decide I don't like the color scheme. I'm going to lock that guy, make another one, and we'll just do the menu real quick just so I can show you some other things. So again, I'm going to leave it on this. Actually, I'm going to turn this on, turn this off, and I'm going to sample. I think I did this color. So I'll just hit I, click on that. and then we'll go back to this tool, and we'll turn this back on. Okay, so I got that layer. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a shape. And you can see it's not quite right. So we'll just snap that up there. Snap it over there. Snap that over. Oops. Snap that over there. Great. All right. And I'll enter. Great. Now I want to do is I want to put my font up there, right? So I wanted to say, I want to put that menu item here, and I want the font and the logo in here. So I'm just going to do like I did before. I'm going to go ahead and lock this. It's just going to make it easier so you don't accidentally move it or whatever. So just lock them as you're doing them. You could also name them, which isn't a bad idea because when you go to bring it in, it will actually know the name. So if I change this to like nav solid, that will come in as nav solid. And if I do this like background color, it will also bring that in, and that will be the name of that object. So it's a good idea to actually name them as you're going along. Okay, so I just want to place, I'm going to make a new layer. I want to place the little menu item here. So I'll just do File, and we'll do Place Embedded. And images for wireframe, I have a little menu. All right, so it's right here. I'm going to bring it up, and we will just go ahead. I'm going to bring this down. It's actually probably a little bit too big. I'm just going to hold Shift and move it. All right, and then I'll hit Enter, and there it is. Notice that it treats it as a smart object too when you place embedded. It's kind of nice. So, and we'll just call this menu button. We honestly will probably replace this because this, I believe, is an image. I don't think it's a vector graphic. But I don't like the black. I wanted a different color. We could do this a couple different ways. For one, I want it just white. So I could take that and then just go to adjustments and just do invert. So where's invert? Right here. And that's going to invert it, but it inverts everything. If you remember, you got to right click and go create clipping mask, and that will invert just the thing below it. But if you decide that you wanted something and you want it to be a different color, the other way of doing that is just to, oops, try to delete, put something above it. Let's say I want it to be, what are the colors I have? Let's say I want it to be, I don't know, this color here, right? So I'll just eye that. I'll go to my shape tool, just draw roughly the size of what that is. Okay. Let's turn that back off, turn these all back on. And then what I can do is on this one, we'll just create a clipping mask. So right click, create clipping mask. And it will not show. Why is it not showing above that? That's weird. That is the thing though, right? Oh, because it's not on the right one, I think. Menu. Oh, there we go. Right click. I made it. Okay, so right click and then create clipping mask, and then you'll see that color because it's clipping based off of that image. It will then be that color. So if you have like an icon or something, you need to change the color. Just remember, use clipping masks, and you could do that as well. All right. So yeah. All right. So there's that. I also need to put my text here, so I could do this a couple different ways. I'm just gonna go here. Actually, we'll do this and. Is it this? Alt? Okay. I don't know if you remember, but when you click Alt and click on an icon, it'll actually invert the visibility. So I'm just going to hold Alt, click on this, and everything turns off but this. And what we're going to do is I'm going to unlock it because I actually want to grab this. And then I'm going to go to regular select here. I have auto select, which means it'll select anything. If I turn this off, it'll only select what I currently have like highlighted. So I'm just going to make sure I click on this guy first. Then I'm going to hold Alt and click and drag. See how it turns into double arrows? And click and drag, and you see there it is right there. All right, shows up there. So I'm just going to click and drag this all the way up to the top. Boop. And then we're going to hold Alt and, oops, scroll down. Where is it? Alt and click so that it turns the visibility. I don't know what's going on there. We'll just do it manually. Okay. And good. So then I have it right here, this thing here. So I'll hit T for the text tool. And I'm just going to replace this with my name. So it was what was it was elucidate. That's right, elucidate. Sounds like a drug more than anything else. So you can see I have it there. I'm going to make it white. Just click on this, go up to white. Take that. Let's just pull this guy up here. And make adjustments and such, but you can kind of see it there. I also want to do my icon. So I'm just going to go to File, Place Embedded. And I had already put my icons here, so logo only, place, right? You can see, oops, careful grabbing those lines. All right, there we go. Okay, so file, and where do you place embedded? Try that again. Logo, place. There it goes. Okay. and we will just shrink it to the appropriate size. Put this guy up here. You know, you get the idea. And again, I just want to invert that. But this is actually an SVG, which means I can scale it, and it doesn't have any problems. I'm just going to quickly invert it. Make sure I do quick clipping mask. Okay. Oh, you know, actually what works better? Because inverting it, because it's actually got a color, puts that. So instead of doing that, I'm going to grab it, and I'm actually just going to do threshold. So which one's that? Threshold. There we go. And I want it to be on the white side. Let's see. So make sure I do clipping mask first. It might be easier to create clipping mask. There we go. And then I just need to make sure it's past. This is the last color. So go past that, and then that will work. Okay. Great. So we see we have those elements there. That looks fine. And then the rest of the things, I just want to show you a couple more things, and then you can figure out from there. So we could even put this all in a folder just to make things a little bit easier. Again, I would name all of these things just to make it simpler. So I'm just going to click them all, make a folder, and then I'll just make a new layer. Okay, so folders and stuff are good. It'll retain all of that when we bring it in as well. I want to just make these boxes. So if you look at mine, you can see I have these boxes here. I just want to show you quickly how to do that. So, so what we're going to do is go to the rectangle tool. I'm going to go to the color here, and you can see I already clicked a bunch of them before, so I'll just click this one. I don't really care. I wanted to make it rounded, the rectangle, so by default, where's my thing? I can't see. Oh, okay. By default, you can see, right, it's straight edged. So I just want to make it so that it's curved. So you can do curve right up here, and I'm going to do 15. And I'm just going to go, make sure I snap to this and to here, right? And then I got a shape, and that'll be my background shape. And then from there, what I wanted to do was have a picture on the top, and then the text on the bottom. So that's pretty easy. What I'm going to do from there is do File. We'll do Place Embedded, and I wanted to do this one was going to be, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll do this one, Coffee Shop, right? There it is right there. And what I'm going to do is just make sure that it goes like this. Be careful, don't hold Shift, because that will make it so it's not proportionate. Just make it as proportionate as possible. We'll call that good. I'll hit Enter. But you see, I want it to only show up where this rectangle is. So I'm just going to do a clipping mask. Right click. Where are you? Create clipping mask. And now, if I have V again, select, you can see it's sliding around, but it's only showing inside of that shape. Right? So that's pretty good. And then I need to do the text underneath. Before I do the text underneath, though, I had that circle. I just want to show you this text frame tool. You might find it useful. So if you don't know what pictures you want yet, there's this frame tool here. It's not text frame tool, it's just called frame tool. What it does is it basically automatically kind of creates like a clipping mask. I'm not sure if I honestly really like it, but just because you probably haven't been using it, I used the circle one. And so what I did is I just drew a circle. So I held Shift to keep it proportionate. So we'll say like that. Let's pull it up to the top here so I can see it. There we go. So I drew, oh, I know what happened. It was on group one. It's like that, and then okay. I'm gonna do a new layer. Make sure you do a new layer first, because what it will actually do is it will actually do it to whatever picture you currently have. So if I'm on a layer with an image, if I draw it, it's actually going to do it on that image itself. So, but if I do it ahead of time, so I just chose circle out of the two. There's a square one. I can't see my cursor. There it is. I'm just gonna hold Shift as I do it, so it's proportionate. Okay, so I have it right there. Now what I'm gonna do, and you could draw these all out ahead of time. It kind of works like the frame tool inside of InDesign, but it's a little bit different. It's not honestly as good. So we'll just do Place Embedded, and I'm just gonna grab, we'll say this dude, we'll put him in there. Okay. Now I'm just gonna go to the regular Select tool here, and you can see, I don't know if you could tell, it only shows up in the circle. So it's kind of like, I don't know what happened there. It's kind of, I'm gonna hit Control T. It's kind of like, oops, not that guy, this one. Make sure, I'm gonna click on that. Okay, make sure you click on the image first, then Control T. So click on it in here. And then I'm gonna Control T or Command T for free transform. And then I'm just gonna, it fits inside of here. I'm just gonna go like that, and then we'll hit Enter. And be like, that's great. Now I'm just gonna take this whole thing. Keep doing that. There we go. Oops, I'm still on that. So now I'm just going to make sure I click on the layer itself, not just this. I want the whole layer. And now I can move the whole thing. And I put it up here. And that's how I did that. The other thing I wanted to do actually was have a border on it. So after it's already made, just like any other vector graphic, because you basically create a vector, you can actually change some of the options here. So I'm just going to click on this, and I will do, let's say, I don't know, this color. And then I'll change the pixel width to, let's say, 7, and enter. And now you can see it put the pixels there. And I could do other things too, where maybe take this and, oh, I can't put effects on it? Oh, okay. I have to select this part of it and put the effect on that. I wonder how that's going to work. We'll do drop shadow. And then I'm just going to make it go up this way a little bit. Take the opacity down a little. Take the distance off. Oh, yeah, that's not even doing anything. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, never mind that then. So, yeah, I just did that. You can see that looks fine. Good. What you could probably do, let me see if this would work. If I made it into a folder and then did it on the folder, did the drop shadow. Yeah, see, that works. It won't let me do it on the element itself, and then I'll just change the size so it spreads out. It's probably a little too much. Okay. Because now it's doing on all elements inside of it, and so it basically, it's almost like pre-composing it. Anyway, so we have that. That looks fine. And then I just did a text box for in here, and then I did 2 of them, and then just use the text and type tools and things like that. Is there anything else in here I did that was particularly? I think that was it. So that's just some tips and tricks. You could do a lot of the same things where, you draw like a box or a shape and stuff, and you can stick the text into it. You probably already know that. But that's how I made mine. So the key here, what I really want to get across is anything you can make that is just plain text or vectors are better, because when you bring it in, you'll be able to adjust them fully, because that program will understand the vectors, so you can change colors and shapes and things like that. Obviously, some areas you're going to put images in. Don't worry about these being super great, your placeholder images, because I'm going to show you another way to actually bring images that's actually probably superior to this, that you don't have to just grab things off the internet. It's actually built into Adobe XD. What I want you to do is just create what we would call the home page. So for mine, I just did it like when you go into the site, I'm just going to have like not necessarily a home page, but just a page that's like the spotlight. And then it's like basically recent events. Spotlight just sounds fancier. I'm not super happy with it, but there it is. So I just want you to, whatever your landing page is going to be. So when they open up the app, what's the first thing they see? That's what I want to see. And so there should be some sort of obviously navigation that's kind of obvious, some sort of layout like this. But it entirely depends on what type of brand that you created. So if your brand was like something like, oh, it doesn't really have an app, just come up with like an app idea, or like it's a accompanying they can go on this app and it's, I don't know, somehow prestigious or something. You could think of something, right? But that's basically it. So hopefully you get an idea of what roughly do. I know I work kind of fast. It's just because I don't want to waste your time, and I know you probably already know Photoshop, hopefully at this point, pretty well. So I just want to give you kind of some tips and tricks on how to like start. But you guys have been doing great, so I'm pretty happy that it works. I'm excited to see what you come up with as far as this is concerned. So good luck, and yeah, that's it.